For something a little bit more grounded, no, it's great, but okay. So the presentation of my topic, the title for it is going to be called "The Neocortex, Video Games, and Mad Skills." So basically, so to introduce my topic, about almost 7 years ago now, back in like 2005, I saw a video on the internet. It was a TED Talk by a guy named Jeff Hawkins. And some of you have probably seen it. He actually talked about intelligence and how we define intelligence. And he basically was explaining this idea that intelligence is defined by prediction. The brain itself is a pattern recognition machine. Like, it's always taking in all this information of the system that it's in. It's remembering the information, and then it's using the information that it knows to anticipate events that unfold in front of itself and be able to like predict the outcome of future events and be able to respond accordingly. So without having to yeah, so one of the things that he explains of how the brain works is this idea that he had an example called the altered door test. So basically, the way how our brain works, our brains work in pattern recognition. So basically, he says that if you were to like leave your house for a day and someone goes and like changes something on your door, and then you go home and you return to your door, and then you walk up there and say like the doorknob got like moved like half an inch to the left. Like, you're just gonna walk up there, you're gonna go to reach for it, and then suddenly like, you know, the door is like not exactly where it's supposed to be. Your brain isn't gonna be able to say like, it's not gonna know what exactly is wrong right away. But that change in the pattern is going to be able to tell the brain that something's different, and then it's going to have to like reanalyze what has just happened. So rather than like walking up and it being a very engineeric approach and saying like, okay, like what's happening to the door, like this is here, this is here, this is here, this is here, rather the brain approaches the door expecting certain things to already be there, certain things that it's already aware of, and then when there's a change in that, it has to adjust accordingly. So basically, so this is all because of the neocortex. Like, when I'm talking about the brain, this is really because of the neocortex. The neocortex is the part of the brain, it's the spongy stuff on top of the brain that's like all foldy and everything, and like that's on top of the reptilian brain. The neocortex was developed within mammals as like a higher evolutionary trait that allows them to have higher pattern recognition skills, and it evolved into like more evolutionary traits that allowed us to be who we are today. So basically, Dylan, you're going to play that first video, and Vince, if you can hit the lights on that real quick, and then hit them back on once the video is done playing. So here's a quick video explaining a little bit about demonstrating how the neocortex works in chimpanzees.
Professor Tetsuro Matsuzawa at the Kyoto Primate Research Institute in Japan has devised a memory test for the chimpanzees. His star pupil is a 7-year-old chimpanzee. Show him the numbers 1 to 9, and he'll put them in the right order, pointing to them one by one. Every time he gets it right, he receives a treat, a tiny piece of apple or half a raisin. But now, the researchers make things difficult. As soon as the chimp presses the number 1, the rest of the numbers are hidden. He has to remember where the numbers were and press the white squares in numerical order. The positioning of the numbers is totally random. He gets it right time after time with lightning speed and 100% accuracy.
Okay, so basically what was being demonstrated there, I mean, as you can see, like that was like an exceptional demonstration of how the neocortex works. And basically that was explaining, you know, with practice becomes the development of skills. This is kind of what, like, based on what Justin was actually talking about earlier. Like, our brain is, you know, like, flex your brain, use it. It's a muscle. The more you use it, the more it's going to get, like, the neural pathways are going to strengthen themselves. They're going to, like, develop, and they're going to be able to, like, perform tasks more efficiently and more effectively. And another thing, just to go back, like, part of, so I mean, that's like, you know, like, part of what we have that makes us unique is that we also have like the neocortex is connected to like a lot of muscle memory that we have. So one example that you can think of how our brain is always using pattern recognition as a way to do our day life. Like when we're walking, we're just like walking, we like don't even think about how we're moving our feet. But if we're like walking and say you're like going down a flight of stairs and you like miss a step just by a bit, like within that half second that you notice there's that change, your brain's just like, whoa, like, you know, like something's different here, and it like compensates, right? But like it's not like you're thinking like step every time. It's just like when there's that slight change, you know, like that's when the adjustments get made. So like there's a lot of stuff that like our brain is doing simultaneously at once, but we're not always conscious of it. But that's the whole idea, that we can focus on one thing while the brain still functions efficiently at another thing on a subconscious level, so to speak. So yeah, the whole idea of that, like with that monkey, like obviously like that monkey wasn't able to do that the first time. Like this is something they trained the monkey to do. But it's not just the fact that they trained a monkey, it's the fact that they trained a mammal with a neocortex, you know? Like you could train a human to do that exact same thing over time. It's this idea that, you know, like the more you practice it, the better it gets, the more efficient it becomes at practicing and accomplishing those tasks at hand. So again, like strengthening neural pathways equals, it's kind of like when you think of a computer, you know, when you run a computer program, you have like your EXE programs, you know, like if you have like, you can kind of think of the brain that way, like rather than just like consciously saying like, oh, okay, like I'm gonna like for me as an example, like if I were to, I've trained in like gymnastics and stuff and I can do a backflip. And one of the ways how I, like when I think about doing a backflip, I don't think like every single small move I'm gonna do. Rather, I almost think of it as if I'm like running a program in my head, like backflip.exe. Like if that makes sense, you know? And then literally I just like run that program, run that neural pathway within my brain, and the task is completed at that point. So of course, this is what we saw, like that was with the monkey, you know? Like that's great and everything. But now we're gonna take that same concept and apply it to a human being playing a video game. So Vince, if you can actually just hit the lights again real quick. So what's happening here? And get ready to pause the video after it ends because it's going to end in a bit. So I mean, for most of you, like, you know, you have never seen this game before. Your brain's going like, whoa, you know, like this is a lot of new information coming at me at once. But as you watch it, even within like the 35 seconds that it's been playing, you're starting to figure out what's going on. Basically, like that little thing is the player and it's shooting and moving around to survive. So all right, Dylan, you can pause the video. Yeah, thanks. All right, so basically, you know, so what was happening there? Like what was your brain, and Vince, if you can just hit the lights again. So basically what, you know, think about consciously about what you just saw there. Like what was your brain doing in the act of seeing that? Like all these patterns are appearing in front of you. Yet within like the 45 seconds that you're seeing that, you started to learn something. Like already you're starting to recognize the elements of the system. You're recognizing like what each aspect of the system represented to the task being accomplished. And in this case, survival is the name of the game. And it's oftentimes when survival is the name of the game, that's when it brings out the most exceptional demonstration of skills. So yeah. So, yeah, so I mean, like even just from watching that, you can kind of like imagine yourself like playing the game and everything like that. So again, like this is, you know, like that game is a very like, you know, incredibly like the cognitive skills involved are really, really high. But as a person gets better at it, they can accomplish it and get like high scores and everything like that. But I mean, that's a demonstration of like one video game that's from like a top-down perspective. So now I'm going to talk about another video game that is with a perception that we're more familiar with, which would be the first-person perspective. So Dylan, if you can just cue up the next video, and Vince, get ready to hit the lights on that again.
Thank you.